Hello and welcome to Soda Tasting, an online show dedicated to soda reviews and appreciation. I'm Patrick O'Keefe, and on this episode, I'm going to do a blind tasting. But unlike the blind tastings I've done previously, I'm not going to focus on a particular flavor of soda. In fact, I'm going to focus on one particular brand, Dr Pepper. And what brought this about was a soda that was requested by two different viewers, Bob Hubbard, who is the administrator of MartialTalk.com, a very large martial arts community, and he also runs other online communities as well, and a YouTube user named Dortees116. Now, both of these people mentioned Dublin Dr Pepper, and if you don't know what that is, we're going to get into that a little later in this episode. But I'm going to compare Dublin Dr Pepper to Dr Pepper with Imperial cane sugar to the regular mainstream Dr Pepper with high fructose corn syrup. Now, this just might be the most expensive episode of soda tasting yet, because these two, the glass bottle ones, had to be ordered online. And, you might not be surprised to know that it costs a fair amount to ship soda. So in addition to the $2 to $3 per bottle, there's a shipping charge. And I bought other sodas to kind of get the most value out of the order. But if I just bought the one, it was like $15 to $17 in shipping. So that's why you want to add in those extra sodas, so that maybe 12 bottles is like $25 to ship or something. But yeah, this is definitely one of the more expensive episodes, if not the most expensive. And because this is a blind tasting, I don't know what's in these cups in front of me. I have to thank my brother Sean for setting that up. He poured everything here with me totally out of the room, and he put the results, whatever's in these, in this envelope, which is sealed. So I don't know what's in front of me. And I did a pepper soda blind tasting in the past, comparing Dr Pepper and similar sodas and store brands, and they all tasted pretty similar. So that might be the case today, or maybe there'll be some subtle differences in there. I don't know. Looking forward to finding out. So let's talk about each of these sodas, and also a little bit of backstory of why Dublin Dr Pepper is interesting. So obviously, the company here is Dr Pepper Snapple Group, but Dublin Dr Pepper was produced by Dublin Bottling Works. Dr Pepper was created in the 1880s in Waco, Texas, by pharmacist Charles Alderton. In 1891, according to the Dublin Bottling Works website, they became the first facility to actually bottle Dr Pepper, and they bottled it from 1891 through 2012, at that point making them the longest continuous bottler of Dr Pepper. Now, eventually, Dr Pepper switched to a more high fructose corn syrup formula, as many sodas have. But Dublin Dr Pepper, Dublin Bottling Works in Dublin, Texas, they continued to make the sugar version, and they eventually branded it as Dublin Dr Pepper. It says Dublin Dr Pepper on the bottle. Now, Dr Pepper Snapple Group, the parent company, was okay with that. They licensed Dublin's use of Dr Pepper as long as the company only sold it to 6 counties in Texas. That's according to Dr Pepper Snapple Group. But in June of 2011, Dr Pepper sued the company, Dublin Bottling Works, and they alleged that Dublin had violated their licensing agreement by selling the soda outside of the 6-county area in Texas, where they say it was licensed for sale. Trademark issues were also raised, tied to Dublin Dr Pepper's logo being an appropriation of the Dr Pepper logo, or at least an older Dr Pepper logo. Now, Dublin responded saying that they hadn't violated the license, and basically said that the suit was about competition and about the parent company's own sugar-sweetened version of Dr Pepper, and them wanting to dominate or own the market for sugar-sweetened Dr Pepper, a market that Dublin felt that they helped to create, and helped create the demand for the sugar-sweetened Dr Pepper. They showed that Dr Pepper had even referred people to the Dublin Dr Pepper variety when they had asked for a sugar-sweetened version, and the parent-produced sugar-sweetened version wasn't available in their particular area. The lawsuit lasted for around 6 months through January of 2012, when a settlement was reached. Now, as part of the settlement, Dr Pepper Snapple Group acquired the rights to Dublin Dr Pepper, and the suit that Dr Pepper filed, as well as a countersuit filed by Dublin Bottling Works, were both dismissed. But Dublin Dr Pepper, that brand, had to cease to exist, and Dublin Bottling Works ceased to offer it. It ceased to be produced. Dr Pepper Snapple Group agreed to continue to manufacture the drink under the Dr Pepper name, no longer Dublin Dr Pepper, for that 6-county area in Texas, and also agreed to support Dr Pepper related events in Dublin. So Dublin Dr Pepper wasn't made past maybe January 2012 at the latest. So suffice to say, it's become kind of scarce and harder to find. And it is worth noting that this bottle that I was able to find on an online store says Best Buy September 10th, 2012. So this is the best I could find, and this says that it would be best to drink it by September. I'm recording this at the start of January 2013, so October, November, December, January, we're looking at almost 4 months past the best buy date. So that has to be kept in mind. Is it fair to Dublin Dr Pepper for me to taste it and compare it on that basis? I don't know, but there's no other way for me to do it. I cannot get my hands on any Dublin Dr Pepper that is best by a date later than today. So, or later than this date as far as I know. This is what I could find, this is what I bought. So I'm going to just treat it as any other beverage, taste it, not even thinking about the expiration date, but still I did want to note it. Now, Dublin Bottling Works also produces its own line of retro sodas, and they began doing so after this dispute, so the company is still alive. So let's take a look at the ingredients of the sodas. Again, we have Dublin Dr Pepper, we have the Imperial cane sugar Dr Pepper, the one that the parent company is producing as a replacement to the Dublin Dr Pepper, and then we have the mainstream Dr Pepper that you will likely find at your supermarket, at least here in the U.S. Now, as far as nutritional facts go, these are 8-ounce bottles, but the numbers that I quote here, they are based on 12 ounces. So I did the math to, put them up to 12 ounces. Calorie count is the same in all three. It's 150. Caffeine count is 41 milligrams in the mainstream Dr Pepper. Now, these don't have the caffeine content on them, but it's usually the same. So it's probably the same, about 41 milligrams per 12 ounces. Sweetener, again, high fructose corn syrup in these. You've got Imperial pure cane sugar in the two others. Sodium is similar, 55 milligrams in the big bottle here, 52.5 milligrams in the sugar ones. Sugar is also the same, 40 grams versus 40 and a half. It might be the same in all, they just might round down to 40 on the plastic bottle. The ingredients are the same as far as reading them, except for the sweetener. So for example, in Dublin Dr Pepper here, you have carbonated water, Imperial cane sugar, caramel color, phosphoric acid, natural and artificial flavors, sodium benzoate, which is a preservative, and caffeine. It's the same on all three except in the high fructose corn syrup version where it has a different sweetener. I bought Dublin Dr Pepper at Old 52, that's shopold52.com, and then I bought Dr Pepper with Imperial sugar at Soda Emporium, that's soda-emporium.com. So I had to go to 3 different stores to put this all together. Obviously, I was able to find Dr Pepper at my local grocery store. And with that said, I think we've got all of the facts and information out of the way. The Dublin Dr Pepper dispute is a touchy subject for some people, especially in the Dublin, Texas area. I don't really want to get involved in that. I'm just going to look at the sodas as they are. So, excuse me for any brevity if that was kind of a brief description of the situation. I'm sure there's other mitigating, more complex issues, but I just don't have the time to go over them on this short video show, and even this episode is going to be a longer than usual one for soda tasting. So let's get to this soda. Now, this is, let's see, number 3. So let's start with number 1 and go across. Let's see, number 1. It's worth pointing out that it's probably been a few weeks since I had any Dr Pepper. I do like Dr Pepper, so I drink it somewhat regularly, but it's been a little while. See number 2. Again, these two taste very similar. There's definitely a difference in one, and I can't really pick it out what it is. There's a small difference, and let me try number 3. One thing that I'm struck by as I taste these is that the flavor in number 3 isn't as strong as the flavor in 1 and 2. And, logically speaking, one might make the leap and say that the soda that's not, that's past the best buy date. I mean, this is September, this Dublin, let's see, the Imperial cane sugar one manufactured by Dr Pepper is best by, looks like July 7th. It's kind of rubbed off, but July 25th of 2013, so that's fresh, and then, of course, the bottle one says February of 2013, so 2 of them are fresh. One of them is past Best Buy, so the weaker flavor one might be the one that's past, and again, I know that might not be fair to Dublin Dr Pepper, but this is literally the only one that I could get, so, of course, it might not be Dublin Dr Pepper. I'm just saying that's, a logical thing that might occur as the flavor will degrade after the Best Buy date. As far as my favorite goes, I'm kind of between 1 and 2. Just trying to decide, because there is that small difference. So, kind of observations from tasting them here. I think 1 and 3 kind of share that small difference I noted. And supposedly the Dr Pepper Imperial cane sugar is supposed to be about the same. It's supposed to be the same thing as the Dublin Dr Pepper. So those two share that difference that 2 doesn't seem to have. So that makes me think that the sugar ones are right here. 1 and 3 are the sugar ones. Again, 3 kind of has the weakest flavor of the bunch. I think I'm going to have to say my favorite is number 2. I really think the sugar ones are here. So I'm going to go with my logical argument that the flavor will have weakened in Dublin Dr Pepper and say that number 3 is Dublin, number 1 is Dr Pepper with Imperial cane sugar, and number 2 is the mainstream high fructose corn syrup Dr Pepper, and number 2 is my favorite. So, I guess without further ado, let's see how close I am. And really, guessing is on some level a fool's game, especially with the pepper sodas, because even the knockoffs, the store brands, taste very similar. And there's small differences, but when you remove the brands and you don't look at anything, it becomes a lot harder than you think. So, here we are. Here's the results. And, yeah, it's exactly what I thought, actually. I'm going to hold it up. I don't know if you can see that. But number 1 is Dr. Pepper with Imperial sugar, like I thought. Number 2 is regular Dr. Pepper. Number 3 is Dublin Dr. Pepper. So, yeah, I got this right. And it was interesting to kind of see the subtle differences in the sugar one with the high fructose corn syrup one, even though in the end I prefer the taste of the high fructose corn syrup one. It's always helpful to do it without knowing which is which, because, again, this is all about taste. So, yeah, and I think that, as I stated, Dublin Dr. Pepper being past the Best Buy date makes this a little more difficult. It's not really a true heads-on comparison. I think ideally what would happen is that the Imperial sugar one, really the way it tastes now, the fresh, is how the fresh Dublin tasted. So I would give it that credit. Yeah, I think that brings us to the end of our Dr. Pepper blind tasting. If you've been able to get your hands on any of the sugar-sweetened Dr. Pepper, let me know what you think about it. Do you prefer the high fructose corn syrup one like I do, or do you prefer the taste of the sugar one? Again, I kind of like the idea of sugar instead of high fructose corn syrup, but I'm just going straight on taste. So for me, the taste is the high fructose corn syrup version. But I'd love to know what you think in the comments on YouTube or on sodatasting.com. Please also subscribe to receive every show automatically via email at sodatasting.com. Thank you for watching, and as always, everything in moderation.